and welcome to our Fighting for Pharmacy Reimbursement rally. My name is Pat Apple, and I'm the CEO for the Pennsylvania Pharmacists Association. Behind me are just some of the more than 300 pharmacists and pharmacy students from across the Commonwealth who came to Harrisburg to meet with legislators to explain some of the many challenges they face serving their patients and doing business in Pennsylvania. Pharmacists in Pennsylvania play a critical role in delivering health care to our patients across the state. Pharmacists not only dispense prescription drugs, they counsel patients on life-saving medications and help patients manage their medications and chronic diseases. Their patient care can and does help contain emergency department costs, hospital visits, and overall medical costs. Keeping patients adherent to their medications and on the right ones also helps many patients have a better quality of life and better ultimate outcomes. They serve patients by increasing access to services like vaccinations to prevent childhood and adult diseases and provide other health care services. And we are helping the opioid epidemic in Pennsylvania in many ways, including by monitoring prescriptions and providing naloxone. Our pharmacists are an important and critical segment of healthcare, with over 2,800 community pharmacies in Pennsylvania, employing nearly over 120,000 people. Community pharmacies exist where other healthcare options may not be as convenient or as accessible. Today we want to talk about three key issues. The first one being expanding the potential for pharmacists to deliver preventive vaccines to patients in their convenient, accessible locations as a trusted healthcare professional. The second one, prescription reimbursement policies that pharmacists believe may be unnecessarily driving up Medicaid costs for taxpayers while squeezing them out of business. And third, eliminating the so-called gag clause in their Medicaid and other pharmacy provider contracts, which prevent pharmacists from advising patients on how they can reduce their out-of-pocket costs for prescriptions. All of these issues play into our theme, fighting for fair reimbursement. Since pharmacists first began offering vaccinations, rates of immunizations for the flu and other diseases have increased in Pennsylvania. We started only by being able to provide immunizations to those 18 years of age and older. Then this was expanded to include the flu vaccine for age 9 and up. And now we are asking to be permitted to provide any appropriate and scheduled vaccines for those who are 9 years of age and up with parental consent. Please help us continue to help our patients and expand our powerful impact on increasing immunization rates and disease eradication. We urge your support of House Bill 1089 and Senate Bill 626, and thank Representative Seth Rowe and Senator Tom McGargle for sponsoring these important bills. Today, community pharmacists from across the state are asking the Auditor General Eugene DePasquale and Attorney General Josh Shapiro to investigate the reimbursement practices of pharmacy benefit managers in the state's Medicaid program that we believe may unnecessarily be driving up Medicaid program costs for taxpayers. We are also asking pharmacy benefit managers in the state to prohibit gag order clauses in the pharmacy benefit contracts. This prevents pharmacies from telling patients how they might be able to reduce their out-of-pocket expenses for prescriptions. To address the first of these issues, I now want to introduce Pat Lavella, Manager of Pharmacy Compliance for Value Drug Company.
Thank you, Pat. Today, we want to alert public and state officials to costly mandated prescription reimbursement policies that we believe are driving up the cost of the managed Medicaid program for both patients and taxpayers, as well as threatening the well-being of the community pharmacies serving those patients. State officials in Arkansas, Ohio, and many other states are already investigating the reimbursement practices of CVS Caremark, a pharmacy benefit manager, or PBM, that also has managed Medicaid program contracts in Pennsylvania. These states are taking deep and penetrating looks at whether CVS Caremark is overcharging state taxpayers for the managed Medicaid prescriptions they process. These investigations are digging into the questions of whether they are unfairly paying themselves more for prescriptions filled by their own CVS pharmacies, while reimbursing community pharmacies significantly less, and in many cases, that amounts below the actual cost of prescription drugs that community pharmacies purchase. Beginning in January 2017 in Pennsylvania, CVS Caremark took over the claims processing for many of our managed Medicaid programs. Since then, they have steadily and systematically cut the reimbursement rates for generic medications dispensed at our community pharmacies. In one example from Arkansas, CVS Caremark reimbursed their own pharmacies $400.65 for fentanyl patches, an opioid primarily used in pain management, while community pharmacies were only paid $75.74, a difference of almost $325. In another example, most of you are probably familiar with the antibiotic amoxicillin, a commonly prescribed antibiotic. CVS Caremark paid their own pharmacies $35.92, while reimbursing community pharmacies $12.21. This time, those community pharmacies were shortchanged almost $24 for the exact same prescription. On October 26th of last year, these discrepancies in reimbursement became so substantial that during the following months of November and December, we are able to demonstrate that between 40 and 50% of all managed Medicaid prescriptions filled in independent community pharmacies in Pennsylvania, which were processed by CVS Caremark, were reimbursed below the actual cost of the medication to the pharmacy. In some cases, these losses amounted to $50, $100, and even more than $200 per prescription. In one specific example, voriconazole, an antifungal which was being used to treat a chronic infection in a patient's lungs, in July, CVS Caremark reimbursed the pharmacy providing this medication $665 for a 1-month supply. In September, that same pharmacy received $440 for a refill of that same medication. In October, that pharmacy's reimbursement decreased further to $427. And in November, after CVS Caremark implemented their October 26th deepest round of reimbursement cuts, that same pharmacy only received $128 for that same prescription. This November price was more than $250 below the actual cost of the medication to that community pharmacy. Not only was this reimbursement unfair and a substantial loss to that pharmacy, but what amount did CVS Caremark actually bill the managed care company and ultimately Pennsylvania Medicaid? In the complicated world of pharmacy reimbursements, there's a terminology called spread pricing, or simply the spread. This spread is the difference between the low reimbursements that the PBMs pay to the pharmacy and the higher amounts they bill the client, in this case, the managed care company, and ultimately, Medicaid. This spread is what we question. We believe the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has the right to know how much of these managed Medicaid dollars designed to go to the patients and the pharmacies that serve those patients did CVS Caremark actually retain or simply keep for themselves? Our state Medicaid program should have open accountability to these numbers. This game of hide and keep is a critical reason why an investigation of CVS Caremark and the PBM industry as a whole is needed. Now, CVS may assert that I am only cherry-picking the worst-case scenarios, but I can assure you that you can speak with any of the community pharmacists in this room and find many, many examples like these. On top of that, there are truly thousands and thousands of additional examples of prescriptions in which pharmacies were reimbursed as little as 1 penny to less than $2 over the cost of their medication. These minimal to negative reimbursements cause the pharmacies in our Commonwealth to every day make business-threatening decisions, as the average amount of overhead to fill a single prescription in our state is somewhere between $10 and $12. These pharmacy reimbursement cuts make it extremely difficult for these small business owners to maintain the inventory needed on their shelves and to allow them to serve their most vulnerable patients. In short, being reimbursed less than $2, or in many cases an outright loss on each managed Medicaid prescription filled, will not allow these community pharmacies to keep their doors open, their lights on, and their residents employed. As an update to this situation, by the end of January of this year, following countless amounts of pressure from our pharmacy organization, our community pharmacists, and the public, CVS Caremark did reinstate slightly better rates on some medications. However, these changes were not across the board. We believe this action does seem to show that even they felt their strategy was incorrect and unfair. But on the other hand, CVS Caremark has steadfastly refused to allow pharmacies to reverse and rebuild any claims from 2017 in an attempt to correct for their underpayments during that time. By now, you are probably scratching your head saying, why are pharmacies taking this? Can they change prices? Simply put, they cannot. In order for a community pharmacy to be able to bill, to serve their patients, they must sign an agreement with the PBM to be allowed to process prescriptions for their members. These agreements are prepared by the PBM, in this case, CVS Caremark, and tend to be very, very one-sided. They are literally take it or leave it contracts that include many restrictive elements, among which are the rates that pharmacies are reimbursed for filling prescriptions. And the PBM retains the right to change those reimbursements at any time they choose. In September of last year, CVS Caremark was, as they were steadily decreasing reimbursements to community pharmacy, many of these pharmacies began to get letters in the mail, like the one we have here. This letter proceeded to describe the reimbursement issues and other struggles involved with owning and running a community pharmacy in today's economic environment, and inviting those owners to come forward and talk about selling their businesses. Any guesses on who was responsible for sending these letters? Exactly, it was CVS. This same situation was not limited to strictly community pharmacies in Pennsylvania. What was happening in Arkansas, Ohio, and almost every other state where CVS Caremark had contracts in place to manage those states' Medicaid plans. Today, we are calling on Auditor General DePasquale and Attorney General Shapiro to join the many other states already investigating CVS Caremark and their practices. We would like these officials to determine what impact these predatory practices are having on the taxpayer-funded Medicaid program and community pharmacies across our state. As the title of our rally suggests, we are here in Harrisburg today to fight for fair pharmacy reimbursement through support of House Bill 2212 and Senate Bill 1105. Now, what you should also know is that if I was speaking as a community pharmacy owner, CVS Caremark could potentially boot me and my pharmacy out of their network, which segues us to our next issue today. Let me introduce Angela Zaden, the Government Affairs Manager for the Pennsylvania Pharmacists Association.
Good morning. As we mentioned, pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs, require community pharmacies to sign contracts to get reimbursed for the prescription drugs that they provide to Medicaid and other patients. These take-it-or-leave-it agreements include a gag order clause that prevents pharmacists from telling their patients how to reduce their out-of-pocket costs for prescription drugs and from sharing reimbursement issues like we've outlined above. The typical example is very simple. A pharmacist runs a prescription through their computer system and sees that a patient's copay is $40. But the pharmacist knows that if the patient did not use their insurance and they paid cash, the same drug might only cost that patient $18.99. In this case, paying cash instead of using their insurance, they have the potential to save over $20. But the gag order clause in many PBM contracts prohibits the pharmacist from telling patients that they could save money, even if the patient asks. We know this happens all too frequently because we hear it from our pharmacists across the Commonwealth. But they are afraid to speak out individually because they fear retribution from the PBMs. We believe strongly, as pharmacists like other medical providers, in doing no harm, and the gag order clauses in these contracts are clearly doing economic harm to our patients and every taxpayer in Pennsylvania by preventing pharmacists from telling patients when they could save money. 13 other states have already enacted similar legislation, and 35 others are enacting it, or considering it. We are asking the legislature to prohibit gag clauses in PBM contracts with House Bill 2211 and Senate Bill 1110 so that we can help save our patients and the taxpayers of the Commonwealth a substantial amount of money. Let pharmacists speak. Share us. Let us share in the real truth behind prescription prices.
Thank you, Angela. In response to our call for an investigation into these practices, the chairs of our bipartisan Community Pharmacy Caucus, Senator Tom McGargle and Representatives Seth Grove and Robert Matsey, earlier this week formally sent letters to Auditor General Eugene DePasquale and Attorney General Josh Shapiro asking them to investigate these unfair reimbursement practices, which we just outlined. We want to thank them for their initiative and consideration. In addition for calling for these investigations, we have also asked the General Assembly to adopt the changes in the law that would stop practices like this from happening in the future and to make Medicaid reimbursement process transparent and fair. We want to thank Senator Richard Alloway for introducing Senate Bill 1105 and Representative Doyle Heffley for introducing House Bill 2212 that addressed the reimbursement issues, and Senator Ryan Ahmet for introducing Senate Bill 1110 and Representative Judy Ward for House Bill 2211 that both address the gag order clause issue. The over 2,800 community pharmacies across the state cannot continue to provide critical healthcare services to their patients unless these policies are addressed and corrected. We also want to thank all of the members of our bipartisan Pennsylvania Community Pharmacy Caucus for supporting the important role pharmacists play in promoting health and wellness of the patients throughout the Commonwealth. We look forward to working with the General Assembly, the Auditor General, and Attorney General, as well as the Department of Human Services on these critical issues. Help us fight for fair reimbursement so that we can continue to help and serve our patients, the taxpayers of the Commonwealth. Joining us as we express the problems that we're facing and challenges. And I want to thank all of the pharmacy students behind me on the steps for being here as well. And then if there are any questions afterwards, Angela, myself, or Pat, or any pharmacist would be happy to try to take them, so come up and see us. So thank you.